Well, yeah, no, Cindy? Okay. Call the meeting to order. Welcome everyone here this evening. There's no report, so. I thought it was on, sorry. Thought it was on. Welcome everyone here this evening. Any of the audience have a question they want to ask, I'd ask you to raise your hand. You will be recognized eventually by either by myself or one of the other members of the committee. I would ask for the approval of the agenda. Moved by Merrill, seconded by Aaron. Any errors, additions to the agenda? All those in favor? Carried. Declaration, conflict of interest, general nature thereof. Is there any?
No.
Let the record show there is none. Adoption of the minutes of April the 26th, 2023. We have a mover and a seconder to approve. Moved by Marilyn.
Bob, I can't
No, I know
approve
you
because I
can't.
was absent.
Yeah. I can second it. Any discussion arising out of those minutes? All those in favor? Carried. Severance application B43, 2021, Calvert, 576 Joyce Road, parcel A. You're on, Jason.
Thank you, Mr. Clancy. Doesn't look as though we have the applicant with us this evening. The application is one in which this committee has seen before. It was deferred at a previous meeting, which allowed for the applicant to do some additional work, specifically a karst assessment and a wetland boundary assessment that we were requesting of Quinte Conservation was requesting, as it relates to the subject property. It's a very large land holding in the southwest corner of our municipality, and each of the parcels in which the applicant's proposing to sever are fairly large in the sense that they're all over 10 acres in size. The retained parcel still maintain approximately 250 acres. The report has been drafted. The documents in which that have been uploaded to the portal for your awareness for tonight's meeting are fairly lengthy and detailed, in the sense that all the comments that were provided initially have been re-uploaded to ensure that we're being transparent with respect to all the information, as well as the newest documents. So if you see multiple Quinte Conservation comments or something of that sort, that's why. Also, there should be the reports that were completed, the karst assessment and the wetland boundary assessment by consultants in support of this application, in which Quinte Conservation has peer reviewed both and concluded that they have no concern or objection to the content of those studies. With that, township staff have drafted a recommendation to approve the creation of these lots subject to the conditions contained within, and given the lot area, and of specific note, I'd like to bring to your attention of given the lot areas, there's not a recommendation before you for the installation of a well. All that being said, we recognize this area of the municipality to potentially not be the best in a general sense as a water bearing area. So if the committee has question or concern, there's ability to add and insert conditions, as you know, and we can provide wording for those as needed. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Yes, Marilyn?
Did I note on one of these parcels that there was a dug well already in place? Or am I dreaming?
Through you, Mr. Chair, there may be.
Okay.
Member Fenwick, I don't want to commit yes or no. I haven't seen it personally. That being said, there's also another application in the area on the opposite side of the road, I believe it is, from the same applicant, and they have a dug well on that property.
Okay.
So there may be, that may be the case.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking. Anyway. Yeah.
Like I know in that area, there is a water problem, always has been. Yeah, I'm aware of the dug well that you're speaking to, Jason.
Through the dug well that I'm speaking to on a different land holding,
Yes,
correct?
yes,
Okay,
yes,
right.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
yep.
Yes, by all means. I think that there should ought to be a condition in there for a well, for water.
Through Mr. Chair, so just parcel A, parcel B, parcel C, all of those are 4.1, 4.1, and 4.2 hectares in size. It's to our discretion, of course, I shouldn't say we, if the committee chooses or the township chooses to instill such a condition. If this is the way in which the committee would like to proceed, I just ask if it is the desire for all of those proposed severed parcels, so that we can ensure that the conditioning is updated accordingly.
I didn't elaborate, Jason, but that's my thought, that it should ought to be on them all. You can't do one and not the other ones. It's all in the same lay of the land. And also too, I'm sure you two ladies have seen the lay of the land there. You know, I mean, there's not a truckload of dirt on 50 acres.
And there are some wetland areas
Yes,
which are going to restrict the ability for
You're right,
them
Merle.
to find some potable water.
Yeah. So how do you want to handle it? Approve it, deny it?
If
I'm open for suggestions.
it's approved without condition, you're suggesting we have conditions, yes?
Through you, Mr. Chair, just to clarify, Member Fenwick, currently staff have drafted item 7A of tonight's agenda, which is parcel A. I know that we were talking 3 separate parcels, but parcel A, item 7A includes 8 conditions. If the committee desires to include the standard well water condition, that would make 9 conditions within that specific application.
I personally don't have a problem with that.
With putting condition in for the water. The only question I would say would be, would we somehow be putting a precedent because the parcels are large, or is there a big problem? Or is there not a big problem because of the fact that there's karst and because of the wetland issues there that.
Through you, Mr. Chair, my comment to that would be, no, you're not setting a precedent. Every individual application is uniquely assessed on its own merit, and given the local knowledge, if you will, of this committee, there's relevance to the condition that we're speaking to. If you were proposing a condition completely unrelated to, say, local knowledge, then I would caution you on the legality or the appropriateness of that condition. That is not the case, and nor do I see this as meaning any 4 hectare plus a lot into the future requiring a well. Again, that's not the case. This is unique.
So I'm inclined to agree with you, Bob.
So you're making a motion, Marilyn?
I can make a motion that this this property should have a condition of having a well with potable water.
Okay, it's been moved by Marilyn. Do we have a seconder?
I will second.
Thanks, Aaron. Any further discussion on this item? You clear on that one, Jason?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, I don't have the wording in front of me. In the moment, it's a standard well water condition. I assume the mover and the seconder are confident in staff's ability to insert that standard condition subsequent to this meeting.
I would certainly say that Jason's probably capable of doing that. Probably done it many times on other pieces of property, so.
I'm confident in your ability as well, knowing we will review it after, right?
How's your halo?
Ah, it's pretty shiny, isn't it?
Okay, all those in favor? Carried, thank you. Gotta have a little fun once in a while.
Mhm. It's Jack and Dull Boy.
Okay, moving on, B 82, 2021. Mr. Calver again. Jason? When you're free.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm short of providing an overview. We're familiar with the property. My question would be, or my recommendation, I should suppose, would be that we consistently carry forward with what we had proposed on parcel A, given the uniqueness to this parcel. And I can make note of that. Should it be moved or should it be considered and passed by the members of the committee?
I guess that was our conversation we've had earlier. So I need a mover and a seconder. Move by Aaron, thank you. Second by Merrill. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Okay. B 83-2021. Calver again. Jason, you're on.
I have nothing further to add. I'll take direction to that of the committee.
Okay, moved by Marilyn, seconded by Aaron, that we put the well water on this one too.
Yes, yes, please.
All those in favor? Carried. Okay, Jason? Okay, B 32-2023, Gullens. Someone here, would you care to join us at the table, please? Okay, Jason, give us the spiel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Gullens is here this evening as the landowner of the subject property, and on her behalf, she had FOTEN Planning and Design author a planning justification report in support of this application, and they've also prepared this drawing with respect to the lot creation. The property is located at 108 South Shore Drive. It's on the shores of Beaver Lake in just west of Tamworth. The property is uniquely shaped, uniquely configured, already been subdivided, and what we are proposing to do essentially through this application is consider an additional lot to be severed off that would take the remaining frontage on Bradshaw Road and have that all associated with a severed parcel, which would then thereby limit the road frontage for the proposed retained parcel to entirely be accessed via South Shore Drive. South Shore Drive is municipally maintained. It's fully functions as a municipal road, and the subject property as a whole has always, I shouldn't say always, from a significant amount of time been accessed via South Shore Drive. So there's no change that's proposed with regard to the access to the existing house on the subject property. That being said, it is deficient with respect to what we require for a minimum lot frontage point of view. And that proposed reduction in road frontage is being considered at this evening's meeting on the same agenda for a minor variance application to reduce that road frontage requirement to the 35 meters. All the comments are included within. Municipal staff essentially authored two separate reports to keep things separate? Should there be direction of committee to consider them separately? All that being said, it's really one comprehensive plan. Sever a parcel fronting Bradshaw. What that does is limits our frontage. There's no change on site. The new lot has been proposed in a location that's deemed to be compliant. It is, in what the opinion of Quinte Conservation, an appropriate building lot from a natural hazards and heritage point of view. And the existing development would all be retained on the retained parcel, with no new development proposed at this time. I believe that's an overview. However, maybe Ms. Gollins would like to add to anything that I had said.
No, that's pretty much. We've been living there since 2008 and had no issues with the frontage that we have down there at the moment.
Committee members have any concerns, questions?
I was down there and I was looking, you weren't home, but I was around. Yeah, well, that is a shame. I would have been pleased to meet you. So my only thought would be that now we have, I didn't see any big problem there because so many people there obviously don't have a lot of frontage on any of it. But because there's such a large parcel with only 35 meters accommodation to it, and although, you know, your house is over this way, and this is in my mind, and the rest of it seems to be empty, down the road somewhere, if you ever wanted to develop that into housing or whatever, then that would leave only 35 meter accessibility to a maintained road. And I don't, like, we're not talking about that present moment, but that would be my only concern, that eventually, maybe years down the road, maybe never, that it could be a problem. I don't know that that couldn't be fine, because maybe that's all you need, is that amount of accessibility.
Thank you, Member Fenwick. Yes, I can appreciate your comments. And from a planning perspective, the one thing that I would note is it's very difficult to plan for the potential in the future. At this juncture, we're trying to make consideration for what's there today. And just off the cuff, if I were to take a guess as to what somebody may want to do, it would necessitate the extension or the development of a new extended public road, in that to further subdivide, to further develop, or further intensify that proposed retained parcel in the future.
But as what we have in front of us, what you're saying, Marilyn, and what I take from you, Jason, we would just be what ifing. We have to deal with what's in front of us. I mean, we can assume whatever, but doesn't mean diddly at the end of the day.
Oh, certainly. I mean, we have no crystal ball, any of us. We have no idea. And just simply that, you know, in driving around, not in Stone Mills Township, but in other areas where you do see, you know, all of a sudden there's a lot of development in an area. And but sometimes they don't have a lot of frontage on the road, and they just use what they have to gain access to the rest and develop it all properly. But my thought was there. I don't really know.
Okay, what we have in front of us here. Any further questions or concerns? Jason, you were going to go on. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, thank you, Mr. Chair. The only comment I was going to make was on Heritage Drive in Camden East. We considered something similar to this, in the sense that we had an application. We necessitated the extension of a road with the proper cul-de-sac bulb and turnaround to garner some additional road frontage for additional development. And that would be sort of what comes to my mind to speak to what Member Fenwick is mentioning. Should Ms. Gollins in the future, or any subsequent property owner in the future, wish to develop that parcel. And again, that would be something we would review at that time under a separate application.
Exactly. Exactly. So, yeah, have anything there?
No, just
I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by
Move.
Aaron, seconded by Merrill. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Okay, now the next
Thank
thing
you.
is the minor variance.
yeah.
You're still on. Don't run away. Don't run away. Okay, Jason.
Application A09 2023, Mr. Chair, is the minor variance that was submitted concurrently with the application to sever this parcel. We've discussed, it's essentially to recognize the frontage reduction of the retained parcel. And the only condition that staff have incorporated is that if there are any grading or drainage changes on the property, that they not adversely affect any neighboring property, including that's being subdivided from the retained parcel. But I have nothing further to add.
Anyone have any concerns, questions? Need a mover. Moved by Aaron, seconded by Marilyn again. All those in favor? Carried. Now you can leave. Have a good evening.
She's, listen, aren't we exciting?
Okay, the next one is A06-2023, Dice, Centerville Road.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. 1333 Centerville Road is a property owned by the Dyes, and it was subdivided through, and you'll see on the sketch, to create two separate parcels. Parcels A, parcel B, with 62 meters of road frontage, almost perfectly aligning with our zoning bylaw with respect to size, given that it's an infill situation, because there's existing parcels on either side of those severed parcels. All that being said, the retained parcel falls 9 meters short in the requirement of the 100-meter road frontage that we have in our zoning bylaw for agricultural properties. Somewhat related to what we just considered in A09, Ms. Gollan's application, the application for this, or this minor variance application, sorry, is proposing to recognize essentially the 91 meters that's always functioned to provide access to this parcel, because the additional 124 meters of road frontage on the opposite side of the parcel in the middle is always separated and not really been accustomed to the house and the existing development. So really, what we're doing is recognizing that through this application for a minor variance, and the applicant is obligated to complete this process through the Committee of Adjustment in order for them to satisfy and fulfill their conditions that have been associated with parcels A and B. The applicant has successfully completed, I believe, all the other conditions, the wells, et cetera, and they're seeking committee's approval for the reduction in road frontage of 9 meters. Happy to answer any questions.
I would have to say that this one is definitely minor.
I would have to agree.
Anyone have any concerns or questions? I need a mover and a seconder. Thanks, Aaron. Moved by Aaron, second by Marilyn again. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, we have another one, A10-2023. Well, 509 Dewey Road. I take that you, sir. Would you join us at the table, please? Okay, Jason, you're on.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A10, 2022. Sorry, 2023. In my document, it says 2022. This is an application for a minor variance to facilitate a kennel on the property. Through unrelated to the specifics of the minor variance, I'll provide a bit of a background. It's my understanding that the subject property owner, Mr. Whalen, has acquired the property within the last 5 years approximately, and has been operating and working towards the operation of a kennel. There are potentially days and months in which his operation exceeds our definition of kennel at the municipal level and exceeds the keeping of 5 dogs. There are probably days, months, and weeks that it does not, given that the litter is not on site that exceeds 5 dogs. Regardless, we received bylaw complaints. We've worked with the owner, Mr. Whalen, on legalizing this situation and establishing a kennel that's in accordance with all of the municipal regulations, including the issuance of a kennel license. And one of the challenges in legalizing this was finding a location on the subject property that has a building or a building to be constructed that would comply with our zoning bylaw requirements. Our zoning bylaw requirements at the municipality are not easy to comply with if you are attempting to develop a kennel. The most notable is you need to be 150 meters away from any property line, regardless if you're in the rural area, if it's an undeveloped property, if it is an agricultural use. Notwithstanding any of the above, you are obligated to be 150 meters from a property line. The existing buildings on the subject property are not located within 150 meters from a property line, nor do I believe you can find a compliant location on that property that would accommodate 150 meters from every property line, given the width of the actual property. For that reason, the owner is not proposing to construct a new building. The owner is proposing to utilize an existing building and convert it to a kennel. The application that was originally submitted seeks to utilize the existing accessory building that's located in fairly close proximity to the house at the end of the driveway, and approximately 29 meters from the interior side yard, and oh, sorry, I might have the wrong numbers during that, but the building that's proposed at the end of the driveway was the one to be internally converted. Through discussions with staff and the owner, we are of the opinion that, I shouldn't say we in that sense, staff are of the opinion that utilizing the unoccupied livestock facility that is located much further from the existing house, which is further away from Dewey Road, more central to the property, which is, I'm measuring approximately 89 meters from the front lot line, is a more appropriate building to be converted for the use of a kennel, given its ability to demonstrate compliance with our zoning bylaw. It's approximately 3 times. Sorry. I'm glad that was you, Mr. Chair, not me. The existing unoccupied livestock facility is located nearly 3 times further from Dewey Road than the existing or the proposed building to be converted. So staff have drafted a recommendation for the committee this evening that approves this use of a kennel on this property. However, it does not approve the use of a kennel to be within the accessory building as proposed within the submission. It approves the kennel to be located within the unoccupied livestock facility on the building. And I think Mr. Whalen can probably provide us some more information. However, there have been conditions that are before you for consideration that ensure that that would be the building in which it is, the kennel is to be accommodated in. Secondly, before Mr. Whalen provides us a bit more information than what I have, I want to provide just a quick comment on the legality of what we've done. And there might be question as to how can we consider an application that's submitted and then just make comment through the processing of it and change it, because a member of the public would not necessarily know that that's been done in the information package that they received as a circulation. And how that's answered is that if you're not worsening any sort of setback or condition that's been notified publicly, you can proceed through the processing of that application and make amendment. But if you, for example, were lessening the setback that was originally notified to a neighboring property line or to a neighbor's house, then we would need to complete the 10-day public notification period again. And we would need to go through that full circulation process, and I would recommend this be deferred. That being said, we're nearly tripling this yard setback from the front if this is considered this evening, and the side yard is essentially the same from the existing unoccupied livestock facility as compared to the accessory structure that was utilized. So from a legality perspective on the circulation, staff have no concern in shifting those, shifting our consideration this evening to the alternative building. That being said, Mr. Whalen can provide any further details to the property, and I can answer any questions that I did not cover in that brief overview.
Yeah, Jason, I just actually had a sketch I did of the amendment of the second proposed building right here there for you. If you needed it. Do you guys want to see that?
Can you pass it around, please?
Yes, please.
So is there enough clearance then?
Mr. Willis.
Still,
Pardon me?
Just press
it's still,
With the-
putting into that building.
Maybe Bob.
Still with the part joint.
Okay. It still needs a minor,
And this.
but it makes sense to move it back.
So it would be 90 meters instead of the 150. Is that correct?
The front lot line?
Yes.
Yeah.
From Dewey Street to the existing structure with the natural steel roof
Yep.
would be 90 meters in the amended.
Yep.
Where the zoning bylaw requires 150. Thank you.
Instead of basically using that building.
Yep.
Use that
Yep.
building, triples the distance.
Yep.
And the side yards should be the same.
Okay, so yeah, that's why it still needs a minor variance.
That's right.
Yep.
I'll just fix it.
Clear as mud.
This sketch mark just shows the other. This is the building that was originally applied for here. Setbacks 35 meters plus or minus.
Back here,
Use
yeah.
this one, make it 90, side yards are the same.
Sounds good.
I take it everyone's clear on that? Makes sense,
Yes.
yeah. And we have a letter from a property owner next door that's in approval of it.
That's right, Mr. Chair. I forgot to mention that, sorry. The property owner that would be most affected, if you will, from the reduction to a side yard setback has provided us a letter in support, saying they have no objections to the utilization of the building 28 to 30 meters from their property line.
Any further discussion?
I actually believe I spoke with that neighbor and they did. They said that would be just great. And that would have been my big concern, was that it was so close to the other neighbors on the other side. So this is wonderful.
Need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Merrill, seconded by Aaron. To approve. All those in favor? Carried. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Take care.
Reputations other than pertaining to applicants. Guess we don't have any, do we, Jason? Other business. What do we have, Jason? Whole list?
Looks as though we have a Karsten Alavar update,
Yeah.
as provided by the Lennox and Addington County Stewardship Council. Just for committee's awareness, this is being passed out. It was passed out through a deputation to council within the past month or two. Don't quote me on the date. And that overview was to provide education regarding karst topography, in which Quinte Conservation regulates within our jurisdiction here in Stone Mills Township, as it's defined under the provincial policy statement as a natural hazard. I will leave the document with you to take home and read at your perusal.
365 bedtime stories. It probably is interesting. What else do you have, Jason?
Update,
That's
general update on
good.
staff.
With a smile you got on your face.
We've been, general update on staffing in the municipality as we've been struggling to stay afloat with the number of staff. We have some absences from the offices. We have some medical leaves. So the staff in which we do have are very overwhelmed. Great, thank you. And we have a new building inspector starting with the municipality on the 31st of July. So we're very excited about that from a development services point of view. That's a staffing update for the committee.
I understand that the new person is a female. Do we have a name?
Yes, actually on Monday evening of this past week, council endorsed our bylaw to accept Miss Kathleen Pulfer as our newest building inspector. She's joining us from North Grenville, the municipality of North Grenville, where she has been employed since 2018, 2019. Yeah.
So she's moving to our area?
She is moving to our area.
Good.
She might be moving to Kingston, Napanee, Loyalist Township, I'm not sure. But our general area, yes, she's moving to.
Okay. Now, what else do you have? You were telling me about it beforehand, or do you want to go into a closed session?
Yeah.
Okay.
Quit asking him hard questions.
I have a couple of questions. The severances I see that are being applied for down on Robinson Road, and now I see County Road 4 has got a bunch of placards running along on the same property. What's going on?
Yeah. So that's, yeah. Okay. So sorry, let me try and, there's approximately a 50-acre property fronting County Road 4 going into the terminus of Robinson Road that is actually currently in 3 separate land holdings. We have applications to create lots via severance and lot addition by moving lot lines around in that area. And I wish we had a sketch I could pull up. And it's been circulated and public notice is out. Hence the reason you're seeing orange signs, Mr. Clancy, on County Road 4. And there's also orange signage posted on Robinson Road to provide notification. Yeah, there we go. Maybe I'll just go to the TV.
So there's 3 separate parcels there, Jason?
Yeah. That's why it's so complicated.
That's the kicker.
That's why it's so confusing and complicated.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's a road allowance firstly that runs, so here, County Road 4 is over here, and Robinson Road stubbed in up into this area here.
Okay.
There's a road allowance that we have ownership of that runs north-south, separating these 2 properties into 2.
Is it Bethel that runs this way, Jason?
This way.
Sorry. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And I think I put a sign here, here, and here, and also a sign over here. So if you drive by, this is a road allowance that runs north-south, separating these 2 land holdings. There's also another lot line that runs right here. It's not a different color, so that makes this more confusing. parcel 1, parcel 2, and parcel 3. 3 separate lots. This is an easement that runs across the parcel for stormwater management. It's literally collecting stormwater here and letting it opposite side of the or trail here and underneath to a culvert, cross culvert down the river. So the applications are proposing to sever 2 lots and retain a property, or retain a parcel, sorry, from this property.
So that's 3 there, right?
2 plus retain.
Yep,
Yeah.
which is 3.
Sorry, yeah, 2 plus retain, so you have 3 for this.
Yep,
And then come across our road allowance that's proposed to be maintained. Sever a parcel and retain a parcel. The retained parcel is too narrow and too small to comply with what our bylaw requires. So because it's a lot line, the proposal is to make it bigger via lot addition from this land holding. So out of that land holding, you'd be creating 1.5 lots basically, right? Create a parcel and retain half of one, but we need to make it bigger. So there's an application for lot addition to make it bigger in there. And then on the front parcel, it's sever 1 lot, it complies with frontage, area, and retain a big parcel of land. That's 7.7 hectares, so 22, 23 acres. It looks very complicated, and it looks like we're creating a whole lot of properties out of one big nice farm field.
It is.
It's somewhat misleading in the sense that it's 3 lots currently, and the sense that this is a lot addition makes it somewhat even more ambiguous. I don't disagree in the sense that it's a farm field and it's operational, yes. But the property is not designated prime agriculture, as you're probably aware.
yep,
It's designated rural,
yep,
adjacent to a settlement area,
yep.
and there are some policies in our official plan that I believe support residential development in proximity to hamlets,
Yep,
all subject to technical studies, et cetera, et cetera. So this has been circulated publicly, it's been circulated to committee, right, as we standardly do now. I'm not even sure where we are through that process. I think we've received 2 comments so far, one from Dieter, not sure the other. So there's probability that this may be bumped to the committee adjustment, depending on how additional comments go from tech reviewers, public works, conservation authority, et cetera. One thing I forgot to mention, there's also a water course that runs through here. I don't know if we're calling it a drainage channel, I don't know if we're calling it a water course, because we haven't got that far yet with tech review, but it's something like this.
Water course, like is it wide, is it trickle?
I think it depends on the time of year you are there.
Okay. So there are times when it could be,
Yeah.
and other times when you doesn't count.
so.
Sort of like this one in Centerville.
Jason, there in the wintertime, in the spring, they were drilling part way back, I assume to get water. What's the water situation like?
Yeah, I don't have the well records, they weren't submitted with the applications. I am speculating that the well drilling was done to facilitate the sale of the property.
Because I know past history, I'm almost positive, I am positive that there was on Robinson Road, they were going to try for severances there, but there was no water.
I'm aware of that on the opposite side of the County Road 4 as well, south east corner. There was some challenges in finding water for that property.
Southeast, wasn't it the northeast corner that they tried there too?
Yeah, no,
Right.
sorry, right here.
Right, the corner,
This property,
Right there.
the corner of Robinson and 4.
you're saying here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And
There's
then,
a house built right here,
yeah,
and there's
yeah,
a fairly large backyard.
then on in on the end of Robinson Road.
Yeah.
That's where I'm almost positive that it was tried a number of years ago and there was no, that's, like, I guess I was a strong proponent of a lot of this land being taken out of prime ag land years ago, because we couldn't get a severance any place for some of our family to build a house on. And as you know, in our municipality, there's a lot of land that isn't any good for other than a house. But in the last number of years, there's been a lot of houses built in the center of a field.
Yes. Generally speaking, those properties tend to be fairly large, but I agree, they're the center of the field. I don't know.
I guess, you know, I begin to think more and more all the time about the agricultural end of it. We see, I mean, here in Maryland, we see right on Lake Road what has happened along.
So one thing I can mention to the committee that I've had conversation with Reeve Wise on is working on updated zoning provisions and policies that speak to limiting the as of right permissions on a property. And this is a good opportunity to bring this up. We currently under zoning regulate minimums for almost everything. We regulate how close you can build to a property line from a minimum setback. And that's common, but we don't often regulate a maximum for nearly anything other than your typical lot coverage provisions or your floors. We don't do it. Some municipalities, floor space index. What I'm considering through some of this discussion, and I think it's really noteworthy at this point, is limiting a maximum front yard setback for properties that have certain soil classifications. And what that would do would essentially prohibit, subject to a minor variance approval or a zoning bylaw amendment change, a proponent from building a single dwelling or a development, we can tie it to accessory structures, etc., in the middle of a field, literally, because you would prescribe a minimum, say, front yard setback of 7.5 meters. You'd prescribe a maximum front yard setback of 25 meters, and you have to play within this range. There are challenges, though, with everything you do. You know, that's a generalization for the municipality. That works in some instances, and there are other instances it doesn't, where you have natural heritage features and you'll have karst outcrops and maybe you'd have a significant mature growth forest in that front portion and an agricultural field in the back. So now you're evaluating as a committee or a staff, what would we prefer? So there's always an alternative side to it when assessing these decisions that we implement through policy and zoning. And as we know, if you don't implement it as a requirement and you just implement as a suggestion in policy, that's hard to enforce. So you're left with potentially lack of compliance with that. So these are conversations just from an education perspective that we as staff are having with, at this juncture, the head of council. And it's very much what you are talking about with respect to some of the recent builds you've seen across our municipality.
Yeah, I guess I'm not pointing or singling you out, Mary, because I got a daughter that did the same thing, okay? But at that point in time, like it was zone prime ag, and all the property that I owned, I couldn't give any of the girls a lot to build on. And other families were the same way. That property there, the road was a natural severance. So that was part of her inheritance. She could go on and build onto it. But I see now it's running rampant of parcels of property being built on, a house in the center of it, and what's going to become of the rest of it. I would hope, Jason, that this committee would be involved in what you have just talked about.
Through you, Mr. Chair, it feeds back to my first update for the committee and the lack of staffing that we've been experiencing. This is something I would have liked to work on 2 years ago. We're struggling at this point to keep up with workloads. We didn't expect the global pandemic to sort of generate the volume of development applications that it did, and we're still running at a fairly high volume. So yes, my discussions with council and members of is that the Committee of Adjustment, and I think you already know this, it goes without saying, the Committee of Adjustment offers great insights and knowledge to this community, given your experiences as a committee and your longstanding tenureship as a residence in this township. So it is most definitely something that I see being worked on, not just in our offices as staff, but around these tables as committees. So
I'm glad to hear you say that, Jason, because I know before when the land was taken from prime ag to rural, the committee was deeply involved into it. As a matter of fact, at the time, Clarence was Reeve, and him and me took Ray Volitis from the Ministry of Agriculture and Food, and the planner at the time, I think, was Glenn Tunnick, around, and we did a day of a tour. And I remember Ray Volitis saying he didn't realize, like he was used to Western Ontario, 100 acres, 95 of it was workable. The other 5 was just for a building. We're here, like 100 acres, you're lucky if you have 50 workable, and the rest is rough land or forest, eh? But anyhow, getting back to this one here in 4 in Robinson, that one I would definitely have to say that there should have to be a hydrogeology study done on it.
yeah, the only the only thing I'd like to just mention is, of course, is we're not here. This item's not on the agenda this evening. We're not here to make a decision on it. It's out for comment. Please send me any comments, me, staff, Cindy, you may have, but don't feel we're obligated to make any sort of decision. And I encourage us not to regarding this applications this evening.
So this was, do you girls have this? Have you? I never received anything. No?
I was aware, I did see it.
Okay.
I did see this. I thought it sort of went out as a mass email to all of us.
Yeah, Councillor Fenwick, member Fenwick, sorry.
It's okay.
That's accurate. The 5 members of the Committee of Adjustment are incorporated within our circulations, and they have been for, I'm not sure, better part of a year. So you should have this, Chairman. These applications were circulated to all members of the committee as part of our general technical circulation.
Do you have it, Aaron?
Yes,
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
No, I never received it. Anyhow, I just saw the placards up, that's why I asked the question. Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's almost another good time for those of you who aren't familiar or don't recall. We have a planning portal as a municipality, and I think Cindy will bring it up right here on the screen. Do you want to just go to the home screen, Cindy, of our webpage, and we'll show you. All the applications that are active across the entire municipality are published in this portal, and it's you're able to kind of scroll around the municipality. Now the planning portal, Cindy, at the top. Yeah.
So the severance applications are still high yet, Jason?
I think off the top of my head, I think we're around 35 severance applications, Chairman, for the year. This is an interactive map that I'd like to show you. We have color-coded dots for different types of applications. So, for example, you can see all the red dots. Those are our severance applications. Off the top of my head, I forget the colors, but I can't read it. But green dot might be a minor variance application. Purple or pink dot might be a plan of subdivision, or it might be a zoning amendment or something. So if you were to click on one of those dots, you can pull up the sketch of what was submitted and get an overview of the application that we write as staff. And then, as you see on the bottom, pull up the sketch. And that takes you hyperlink directly to the plan. This has been a really good system in trying to get additional forms of communication out to the community. Chairman, I'm ecstatic to hear you say that you saw those orange placards on the face or the front of County Road 4. Not everybody does. And some members of the community that utilize this system might get some ability to provide comment via their knowledge of the system, as opposed to seeing placards on a site. So this is just another mechanism that we've committed to as a township in trying to garner input through these public processes.
I would have to commend you for that, Jason. I find that interesting. I'll have to, I didn't realize that was there. How long has that been in existence?
I don't want you to feel bad, Chairman, but I think we're probably 24 months or so now we've had this running live.
Well, it would be nice if we were kept up to speed.
I actually did see this, but it was mostly because I was doing my usual bit of confusion. And so, you click on this. I'm like a child. Click on that and see what it is. And if I make a mistake, too bad. And I just actually did see that and thought, well, this is interesting, but I didn't know how long it had been there. So, no, not at all.
We're going to take that halo away from you.
Tarnished.
Anyone have anything else for the committee?
No.
Motion to adjourn. Moved by Aaron, seconded by Merrill. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you.